She signed a contract to save her dying mother's life, but she never expected to lose her heart in the process. Aaliyah Parker thought she knew exactly what she was getting into when she agreed to pose as a cold millionaire's girlfriend for 1 year, but the walls around Ethan Whitmore's heart began to crumble in ways neither of them anticipated. Just when love seemed possible, a vindictive ex-fiancé would plant seeds of doubt that shattered everything they'd built, forcing Aaliyah to walk away from the only man she'd ever truly loved. What started as a desperate transaction would become a battle between pride and vulnerability, between fear and faith, between a love that could heal or a mistrust that could destroy them both forever. If you believe real love can survive betrayal and doubt, subscribe and tell me in the comments if you've ever had to fight for someone who couldn't trust their own heart, because this story is about to prove that sometimes the greatest love stories begin with the most impossible contracts. The hospital bill sat on Aaliyah's kitchen table like a weight pressing down on her chest. She stared at the numbers. $23,000. The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. She pressed her palms against the table and breathed slowly. In through the nose, out through the mouth, just like Mama taught her when things got hard. Morning light crept through the small apartment window. Outside, Seattle was waking up. Cars honked. People rushed to work. Life moved forward like it always did, whether you could keep up or not. Aaliyah wiped her face and stood. She had to get ready for her shift at the nursing home. Bills didn't pay themselves even when they felt impossible. Her phone buzzed. Another text from the hospital billing department. She turned the screen face down and grabbed her purse. The nursing home smelled like antiseptic and overcooked vegetables. Aaliyah tied her hair back and clocked in, forcing a smile she didn't feel. Her co-worker Mara bounced over, bright and cheerful as always. "Girl, you look exhausted," Mara said, concern creasing her round face. "You okay? Just tired?" Aaliyah shrugged. "Mama had a rough night." Mara squeezed her shoulder. "Your mama's strong. She's gonna pull through." Aaliyah wanted to believe that. She really did. But the doctor's words from last week kept echoing in her mind. "We need to start a new treatment. It's expensive, but it could save her life. How do you put a price on your mother's life?" She made her rounds, checking on patients, helping them eat, listening to their stories. Mrs. Chen wanted to talk about her garden. Mr. Rodriguez showed her photos of his grandkids for the 100th time. She smiled and nodded, grateful for the distraction. During lunch, she sat in the break room alone. Her sandwich tasted like cardboard, but she forced herself to eat. She couldn't afford to get sick. Her phone rang. The hospital. Her hands trembled as she answered. "Hello? Miss Parker, this is Dr. Morrison. Your mother's condition has worsened. We need to discuss treatment options immediately." The sandwich turned to cement in her stomach. That night, Aaliyah knelt beside her bed and prayed. She wasn't sure anyone was listening, but she had nowhere else to turn. "Please," she whispered into the darkness. "I need help. I can't lose her. She's all I have." The silence offered no answers. She climbed into bed and stared at the ceiling. Sleep felt impossible, but exhaustion pulled her under eventually. The next morning, she dragged herself back to work. Mrs. Chen was having a good day, chattering about her son's upcoming visit. "He's very successful, you know," Mrs. Chen said proudly. "Works in technology. Makes more money than I can imagine." "That's wonderful," Aaliyah said, fluffing the woman's pillows. "He has a friend, actually. Ethan Whitmore, very wealthy, very lonely." Mrs. Chen leaned closer, lowering her voice. "I heard he's looking for someone to accompany him to events. Social appearances, you know. He'll pay handsomely." Aaliyah's hands stilled. "Pay? Oh yes, my son mentioned it. Something about needing someone reliable and discreet. The rich have such strange problems, don't they?" Aaliyah finished her tasks on autopilot. That conversation played on repeat in her mind all day. By the time she got home, she'd convinced herself it was ridiculous. People didn't actually do things like that. It sounded like something from a movie. But that night, as she stared at her mother's medical bills spread across the table, she found herself searching online. Ethan Whitmore, tech investor, 30 years old, net worth estimated at $50 million. His photo showed a handsome man with sharp features and cold eyes. He looked like he'd never smiled in his life. She closed her laptop. This was insane. But the bills didn't disappear, and neither did her mother's illness. She found his company's contact information. Her finger hovered over the number. This was crazy, desperate, degrading. But what choice did she have? She made the call before she could change her mind. The office building downtown gleamed like a steel tower reaching for the clouds. Aaliyah stood outside, her palms sweating despite the cool afternoon air. She'd worn her best dress, a simple navy blue one she'd bought for her cousin's wedding 2 years ago. It felt inadequate here, surrounded by people in designer suits. She almost turned around 3 times before finally walking through the glass doors. The receptionist directed her to the 20th floor. The elevator ride felt like falling, even though she was going up. His assistant, a woman with severe features and a crisp suit, led her down a hallway lined with modern art. "Mr. Whitmore doesn't like to waste time," she said without looking back. "Be direct." They stopped at a large wooden door. The assistant knocked once and entered, leaving Aaliyah to follow. The office was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Everything was clean lines and cold colors: white, black, gray. No warmth anywhere. Ethan Whitmore stood by the window, his back to her. He was tall, with dark hair and broad shoulders. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Miss Parker," he said without turning around. His voice was smooth but distant. "Please, sit." Aaliyah sat in the leather chair facing his desk. Her heart hammered so hard she worried he could hear it. He finally turned to look at her. His eyes were gray, cold, and assessing. He studied her face for a long moment, and she forced herself not to look away. "You understand why you're here?" he asked. "Mrs. Chen mentioned you might need someone for social events." "A companion." "Yes." He moved to his desk, sitting down with careful precision. Everything about him seemed controlled, measured. "I need someone to accompany me to galas, business dinners, and public appearances. You would pose as my partner." The word pose stung more than it should have. "For how long?" she asked. "1 year. And the payment?" $200,000 paid in installments. The first payment would clear your mother's medical debts immediately. Her breath caught. That much money would save Mama, would give them breathing room, would change everything. "What exactly would I have to do?" Her voice came out stronger than she felt. "Attend events, smile, make conversation, appear genuinely interested in me." He said it like reading a grocery list. "There would be no physical intimacy required. This is strictly professional." Professional, like she was an employee, or a piece of furniture he was renting. "Why me?" The question escaped before she could stop it. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Not warmth, but maybe interest. "Mrs. Chen spoke highly of you. You're reliable, discreet, and frankly, you need the money enough that I can trust your motivation." Her hands clenched in her lap. He was right, and that made it worse. "This would require complete confidentiality," he continued. "If anyone discovers the true nature of our arrangement, the contract ends immediately. No further payment." "I understand. You would move into a guest suite in my home. We need to be convincing, and that requires proximity." "Move in?" The thought sent panic skittering through her chest. "Only temporarily. You would have your own space. Your privacy would be respected." She thought of her mother lying in that hospital bed, thought of the bills piling up, thought of the fear that kept her awake at night. "I need to think about it," she said. He reached into his desk and pulled out a card. "My personal number. You have 48 hours to decide." She took the card with trembling fingers. It was heavy, expensive paper, like everything else in his world. "Miss Parker." He stood, signaling the meeting was over. "I understand this is unconventional, but think about your mother." Those words followed her all the way home. She couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mama's face, weak, tired, fading. The next morning she went to the hospital. Her mother lay in bed, thinner than she'd been last week. The machines beeped their steady rhythm, counting down time Aaliyah couldn't afford to waste. "Baby," Mama said softly, reaching for her hand. "You look worried." "I'm fine." The lie tasted bitter. "Don't lie to your mama." Grace Parker's smile was gentle but knowing. "I can always tell." Aaliyah sat down, holding her mother's hand carefully. The skin felt papery and fragile. "The doctor says you need the new treatment, and we can't afford it." It wasn't a question. "I'm working on it." "Aaliyah Louise Parker." Her mother's voice gained strength. "Don't you dare do anything foolish for me." "It's not foolish." She squeezed Mama's hand. "It's just a job opportunity." Her mother studied her face, those brown eyes still sharp despite the illness. "What kind of job?" "A good one, with good pay." "Baby, please, Mama, trust me. Everything's going to be okay." She stayed until visiting hours ended, then walked out into the Seattle drizzle. The rain matched her mood, gray and heavy. At home she pulled out Ethan's card. The paper felt like a promise, or maybe a threat. She called. He answered on the second ring. "Miss Parker." "I'll do it," she said before she could change her mind. I'll sign your contract. A pause. Come to my office tomorrow morning, 9 sharp. We'll finalize the details. He hung up without saying goodbye. Aaliyah sat in the silence of her apartment. She'd just agreed to sell a year of her life. But if it saved her mother, it would be worth it, wouldn't it? The contract was 12 pages long. Aaliyah tried to read every word, but the legal language made her head spin. Ethan sat across from her, patient but detached. You'll attend an average of 2 events per week, he explained. Formal attire will be provided. All expenses covered. You'll present yourself as my girlfriend. Girlfriend? The word felt strange in her mouth. Yes, we met through mutual friends. You work in healthcare. We've been seeing each other for 3 months. A fabricated history. A manufactured relationship. What if someone asks questions I can't answer? You'll learn everything you need to know about me. I'll learn about you. We'll be prepared. He slid a folder across the desk. Background information. Study it. She picked up the folder. Inside were pages about his company, his education, his interests. Or rather, what he wanted people to think were his interests. Sign here. He pointed to the last page. And here. Her hand shook as she picked up the pen. This felt wrong, like she was signing away more than just her time. But then she thought of Mama, thought of hope, thought of a future where the bills didn't drown them. She signed. The first payment will be wired to the hospital by end of business today, Ethan said, taking the contract. My driver will pick you up tomorrow at 10. Bring what you need for an extended stay. That fast? I have a gala Friday night. We need to prepare. 2 days. She had 2 days to pack up her life and move into a stranger's house. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Welcome aboard, Miss Parker. It didn't feel like a welcome. It felt like a business transaction, because that's exactly what it was. The mansion made her old apartment look like a shoebox. Aaliyah stood in the marble foyer, her small suitcase feeling ridiculous beside the grand staircase and crystal chandelier. A woman in a neat uniform appeared. I'm Helen, the house manager. Let me show you to your room. Aaliyah followed her up the stairs, past expensive paintings and sculptures. Everything screamed money. Cold, sterile money. Her suite was bigger than her entire apartment. A huge bed with silk sheets, a private bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people, a sitting area with a fireplace, windows overlooking a manicured garden. Mr. Whitmore asks that you join him for dinner at 7, Helen said. Would you like help unpacking? No, thank you, I can manage. Helen left, and Aaliyah sank onto the bed. The mattress was so soft she almost disappeared into it. What had she done? She unpacked slowly, putting her few belongings in the massive closet. Her clothes looked lost in all that space. 5 outfits and 2 pairs of shoes in a closet designed for 100. At 7, she made her way downstairs. Helen directed her to a dining room that could seat 20 people. Ethan sat at one end of a long table, reading something on his phone. He looked up when she entered. Miss Parker, please, sit. She sat at the opposite end, miles away from him. A server appeared immediately, setting down plates of food she couldn't identify. Everything looked fancy and intimidating. They ate in silence for several minutes. The only sounds were silverware against china and the ticking of a clock somewhere. We need to go over your schedule, Ethan finally said, still not looking at her. The gala is Friday. Friday morning, a stylist will arrive at 9. She'll handle your hair and dress. The event starts at 7. Okay. You'll need to be comfortable with physical contact. Holding hands, my arm around your waist, brief touches. Her appetite vanished. I understand. Eye contact is important. Smile naturally. Laugh at my jokes, even if they're not funny. Are your jokes funny? The question slipped out before she could stop it. His eyes met hers for the first time since she'd sat down. Something flickered there. Surprise, maybe. Not particularly. Then I'll have to practice my fake laugh. Was that almost a smile on his face? It disappeared so quickly she might have imagined it. You'll do fine, he said, returning to his food. The rest of dinner passed in uncomfortable silence. When she finished, she excused herself and fled to her room. She called her mother. How is it? Mama asked. Big, fancy, weird. Aaliyah sat by the window, looking out at the dark garden. The hospital called. They said the bills are paid. Her mother's relief was audible through the phone. Oh, baby, that's wonderful. How are you feeling? Better already, knowing you're not drowning in debt for me. They talked for another hour, carefully avoiding what Aaliyah had actually agreed to. When they hung up, she felt more alone than ever. A knock on her door made her jump. Yes, it's me. Ethan's voice came through the wood. She opened the door. He stood there in casual clothes now, jeans and a sweater. He looked almost human like this, almost approachable. "I forgot to give you this." He held out a phone. "Your new number, programmed with everything you need." She took it. "Thank you." He started to leave, then paused. "Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, my office downstairs. We'll go over your background materials." "Okay." He nodded and walked away, leaving her holding the expensive phone and wondering what she'd gotten herself into. The next 3 days were intense. Ethan drilled her on his life story, where he went to college, his company's projects, his habits and preferences. She absorbed it all like studying for the most important test of her life. He also asked about her, where she grew up, her mother's illness, her job at the nursing home. She answered carefully, unsure how much truth to share. "Details matter," he said during one session. "If someone asks how we met, we both need to tell the same story. Mutual friends. A dinner party. You spilled wine on me." She recited the fabricated meet-cute they'd created. "And I was. Charming. Apologetic. You offered to pay for dry cleaning, but I refused. You asked for my number instead." Good. He was patient. She'd give him that. Never frustrated when she forgot something. Never warm, but not cruel either. Just distant. Like he was training an employee for a presentation, which she supposed he was. Friday arrived too quickly. The stylist showed up with 3 assistants and enough makeup to paint a house. They transformed her into someone she didn't recognize. Her usually simple hair was swept into an elegant updo. Her makeup made her look sophisticated and mysterious. The dress took her breath away, deep emerald green, fitted perfectly to her body, with a neckline that was daring but not inappropriate. She barely recognized herself in the mirror. "You look beautiful," the stylist smiled. "Mr. Whitmore won't be able to take his eyes off you." Aaliyah doubted that. Mr. Whitmore barely looked at her at all, but when she descended the stairs at 6:30, she saw something change in his face. He stood at the bottom wearing a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. His eyes widened slightly when he saw her. "You look—" He paused, searching for words. "Appropriate. Appropriate. Not beautiful. Not stunning. Appropriate." She swallowed her disappointment. "Thank you." He offered his arm. "Ready?" No, not even close. But she took his arm anyway. The car ride was quiet. Ethan scrolled through his phone while she tried not to wrinkle her dress or smudge her makeup. The city lights blurred past the windows. "Nervous?" he asked suddenly. "A little. Don't be. Just smile and be yourself." Be herself, while pretending to be his girlfriend, while wearing a dress that cost more than her car, while entering a world she didn't belong in. Sure, easy. The gala was held in a massive hotel ballroom. Chandeliers sparkled overhead. People in expensive clothes mingled with champagne glasses. Everything shimmered with wealth and privilege. Ethan kept his hand on the small of her back as they entered. The touch was light but constant, a reminder of their performance. People approached immediately. Aaliyah smiled until her face hurt, shook hands, made small talk. Ethan stayed close, occasionally adding comments that made her sound more interesting than she felt. Then a woman appeared, tall, blonde, stunning in a red dress that probably cost more than Aaliyah's entire wardrobe combined. "Ethan," her smile was sharp. "I didn't know you were seeing someone." "Chloe." His voice went even colder. "This is Aaliyah. Aaliyah. This is Chloe Marks, an old friend." The way he said friend suggested otherwise. Chloe's eyes swept over Aaliyah, assessing and dismissing in one glance. "Charmed. How did you two meet?" "A dinner party," Aaliyah said, keeping her voice steady. "Ethan spilled wine on me." "How clumsy." Chloe's laugh was like breaking glass. "I hope he paid for the dress." "He offered. I refused." "How noble." Chloe turned to Ethan. "She seems sweet. Tell me, dear, what do you do?" "I'm a caregiver. I work with elderly patients." "Oh, how charitable." The word dripped with condescension. Aaliyah felt her cheeks burn. This woman was trying to make her feel small, and it was working. But then she thought of her mother, thought of Mrs. Chen and Mr. Rodriguez, and all the people who depended on her every day, thought of how much strength it took to do her job. She straightened her spine. "I find it rewarding, taking care of people who need help, making their days a little brighter. It's honest work." Something flickered in Chloe's eyes. Surprise, maybe? Or anger? "Well," Chloe said, her smile tight. "How sweet. Ethan always did have a thing for projects." Ethan's hand tightened on Aaliyah's back. "If you'll excuse us, Chloe, we have people to see." He guided Aaliyah away, but she could feel Chloe's eyes following them across the room. I'm sorry about that, he said quietly. She can be mean. Yes. They stopped near the windows. Aaliyah took a breath, trying to calm her racing heart. Was she your ex? She asked. A long pause. Yes. She hates me. She doesn't know you well enough to hate you. She thinks I'm beneath you. He looked at her then, really looked at her. You handled that well, better than I expected. It wasn't quite a compliment, but it wasn't nothing either. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. More introductions, more smiling, more pretending. By the time they left, Aaliyah's feet ached, and her face hurt from maintaining that perfect smile. In the car, she kicked off her heels and sighed. Is it always like that? Usually worse. She laughed despite herself. Great. She turned to see him watching her. Just for a moment, his cold expression softened. You surprised me tonight, he said, standing up to Chloe. Most people are intimidated by her. I've dealt with difficult people before. Just usually they're asking for extra pudding, not insulting my entire existence. This time, he definitely smiled. Small, but real. Thank you, he said. For tonight. That's what you're paying me for, right? The smile faded. Right. They drove home in silence, but it felt different somehow. Less hostile. Maybe even almost comfortable. The next morning, Aaliyah woke to sunshine streaming through her window. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back. She showered and dressed in her normal clothes, jeans and a simple blouse. The fancy dress hung in her closet like a costume she'd borrowed. Downstairs, she found Ethan in the kitchen. He wore running clothes, his hair damp with sweat. It was the most casual she'd seen him. Coffee? He asked, holding up a cup. Please. He poured her one, black. She added cream and sugar while he watched. You did well last night, he said. Thanks. Chloe will probably try again. She doesn't give up easily. Why does she hate you? He leaned against the counter, considering. I broke off our engagement 2 years ago. She didn't take it well. Why did you end it? His jaw tightened. I found out she was more interested in my money than in me. Aaliyah wanted to ask more, but his expression warned her away from the topic. I have to go visit my mother this afternoon, she said instead. Is that okay? Of course, you're not a prisoner here, but sometimes it felt like it. She spent the morning in her room, video chatting with Mara and catching up on life outside this mansion. In the afternoon, she took an Uber to the hospital. Mama looked better, color in her cheeks, brightness in her eyes. The new treatment is working, Grace said, squeezing Aaliyah's hand. I can feel it already. Relief flooded through her. This was why she'd done it. This moment, right here. I'm so glad, Mama. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. It felt normal, real, unlike the strange performance her life had become. When she got back to the mansion, Ethan was in his office. She knocked on the open door. How's your mother? He asked, looking up from his computer. Better, the treatment's working. Good. An awkward silence stretched between them. I was going to make dinner, she said suddenly. Nothing fancy, just comfort food. Would you want some? He looked surprised. You cook? When I have time? And ingredients. He glanced at his computer, then back at her. What are you making? Probably chicken and rice. Maybe some vegetables. I haven't had a home-cooked meal in, he trailed off, a long time. Is that a yes? Yes. She found Helen in the kitchen and explained what she needed. The house manager seemed pleased someone actually wanted to use the massive kitchen. Aaliyah cooked like she always did, with music playing and her mind elsewhere. She thought about Mama, about this strange new life, about the cold man sitting in his office who'd agreed to eat her cooking. An hour later, she set 2 plates at the small table in the breakfast nook. Not the formal dining room, somewhere normal. Ethan appeared, drawn by the smell. He looked almost uncertain. Sit, she said. It's just food. They ate together, really together this time, not separated by miles of polished wood. This is good, he said after the first bite. Really good. My mama's recipe. Comfort food for bad days. Is today a bad day? No, but I figured we could both use some comfort anyway. He nodded, and they ate in companionable silence. When they finished, he helped her clean up without being asked. Thank you, he said as they finished, for dinner. You're welcome. She started to leave, but his voice stopped her. Aaliyah. It was the first time he'd used her first name. It sounded strange in his voice, almost gentle. Yeah? You were right last night, about honest work. What you do matters. Her throat tightened. Thank you. She went to her room, but this time she didn't feel quite so alone. Maybe this arrangement wouldn't be so bad after all. 2 days after their quiet dinner, the photo appeared. Aaliyah was scrolling through her phone over breakfast when Mara sent her a link. The text read, "Girl, is this you?" She clicked it. Her stomach dropped. There she was, in Ethan's kitchen, laughing. He was laughing too, his head thrown back in a way she'd never seen. The maid must have taken it. The headline read, "Tech millionaire Ethan Whitmore's mystery woman, gold digger or true love?" Her hands started shaking. The article was worse. It speculated about who she was, where she came from, why a nobody caregiver was suddenly living in a mansion. The comments section was brutal. She's obviously after his money. He can do so much better. What does he see in her? Aaliyah's chest tightened. She knew this wasn't real, knew it was all pretend. But seeing those words still hurt like a punch to the gut. "Miss Parker!" Helen appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Whitmore would like to see you in his office immediately." The walk down the hall felt like walking to her execution. Ethan stood by his window, his phone pressed to his ear. His shoulders were rigid with tension. "I don't care what it costs. Take it down. Now." He ended the call and turned to face her. His expression was cold, colder than she'd ever seen it. "Did you leak that photo?" His voice cut like ice. "What? No. Someone did. Someone who had access to this house. I didn't. I would never." Her voice cracked. "Why would I do that? For attention? For leverage? To renegotiate our agreement?" Anger flared in her chest. "You think I want that kind of attention? You think I want people calling me a gold digger? I think people do desperate things for money. I've learned that lesson before." The accusation hung between them like poison. "I didn't do it," she said quietly. "But clearly you don't believe me." His jaw tightened. "My assistant says this could damage my company's image. Board members are already asking questions. So what do you want me to do? Stay out of sight. No more public outings until this blows over. No social media. No contact with friends outside this house." She stared at him. "You want me to hide? I want you to not make this worse." "I didn't make it bad in the first place." Her voice rose. "But fine. I'll stay locked in my room like a dirty secret. That's what I am anyway, right?" She turned and walked out before he could respond, before he could see the tears burning her eyes. She went to her room and cried, not because of the article, not because of what strangers said online, but because for a moment, just a brief, stupid moment, she'd thought maybe Ethan was becoming a friend. She'd forgotten this was business, just business. Her phone rang. Mama. She almost didn't answer, but Mama always knew when something was wrong. "Baby, I saw the news." "It's fine, Mama." "No, it's not. Come see me, please." Aaliyah wiped her face. "Ethan said I should stay here. I don't care what that man said. I need to see my daughter." She grabbed her purse and left without telling anyone. Let Ethan be angry. Let him think whatever he wanted. She needed her mother. The hospital felt like sanctuary. Mama held her while she cried for real this time. Let it all out. The stress, the fear, the loneliness, the humiliation. "Tell me the truth," Grace said, when Aaliyah finally calmed down. "What kind of job did you really take?" So she told her. Everything. The contract, the arrangement, the pretend relationship, all of it. Grace listened without judgment. When Aaliyah finished, her mother took her hand. "Baby, I never wanted you to sacrifice yourself for me. It's not a sacrifice. It's just a job." "Is it?" Mama's eyes were knowing. "Because it sounds like it's costing you more than you expected." Aaliyah looked away. "I can handle it. It's only a year." "What happens after that year? When you've spent 12 months pretending? When you've lived in his world and then have to go back to yours?" "I don't know." Grace squeezed her hand. "Just promise me you'll be careful. With your heart, especially." "My heart's not involved." Her mother just smiled sadly. She stayed at the hospital until visiting hours ended. When she finally returned to the mansion, it was dark. She crept in quietly, hoping to avoid everyone. But Ethan was in the foyer, waiting. "Where were you?" His voice was tight. "Visiting my mother. You were supposed to stay here. I don't take orders from you about when I can see my own mother." They stared at each other. The air felt electric with anger, and something else she couldn't name. "You're right," he said finally. "I'm sorry. I had no right to tell you that." The apology surprised her. "Okay. Can we talk, please?" She wanted to say no, wanted to go to her room and pretend this day never happened, but something in his expression stopped her. "Fine." He led her to his office and closed the door, gestured to the couch by the window. She sat, keeping distance between them. "I shouldn't have accused you," he said. "The photo wasn't your fault. I know that." "Then why did you?" He ran a hand through his hair. For the first time he looked tired, human. "Because it's easier to be angry than afraid." "Afraid of what?" He sat down, but not close. This happening again, being used, being made a fool. I'm not Chloe. I know. He looked at her, really looked at her. My engagement to Chloe ended because I found out she was only with me for money. She'd been selling stories to gossip sites, making deals behind my back. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. Just said I should have known better than to think someone could love me for anything other than my bank account. The pain in his voice made Aaliyah's anger soften. That's horrible, she said quietly. It taught me to trust no one, to keep everyone at a distance, to make everything a transaction. He looked down at his hands. I thought if I made our arrangement clear, if I paid you, then at least I'd know why you were here. No surprises, no betrayal. But now you think I'm like her. No. I thought that for about an hour, then I realized... He paused. You didn't have to cook me dinner the other night. You didn't have to make conversation, or try to make this easier. The contract doesn't require kindness, but you gave it anyway. Aaliyah's throat felt tight. I'm not cruel, even when people are paying me. I know, and I'm sorry I forgot that today. He met her eyes. The article will die down. My PR team is handling it, but I need you to know, I don't think you're a gold digger. I think you're someone trying to save her mother. There's nothing shameful in that. She nodded, not trusting her voice. They sat in silence for a moment. The anger had drained away, leaving something softer behind. Tell me about her, Ethan said. Your mother. So she did. Told him about Mama's strength, her faith, her terrible jokes and her incredible cooking. How she'd raised Aaliyah alone after Daddy died. How she'd worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat. She sounds remarkable, Ethan said. She is. I'd like to meet her properly if that's okay. Aaliyah looked at him in surprise. Why? Because she matters to you. And, he hesitated, because I think I'd like to know the person who raised someone like you. Her heart did a strange flip in her chest. Okay, yeah, she'd like that. He smiled. A real smile. Small, but genuine. Go get some rest, he said. Tomorrow's a new day. She went to her room, but this time she felt different. Lighter somehow. Maybe she'd been wrong about Ethan Whitmore. The next morning she found coffee waiting outside her door with a note. I'm sorry. She smiled despite herself. At breakfast, Ethan was different. Not warm exactly, but less cold. He asked about her plans for the day, made small talk about the weather, normal things. I have meetings all morning, he said, but this afternoon I thought we could run some errands together, if you're free. What kind of errands? Boring ones. So office supplies, dry cleaning, but I thought, he looked almost uncertain, we could be seen together in a normal way. Show people we're not hiding. She understood. This was about the article, about controlling the narrative. Okay. They spent the afternoon doing ordinary things, walking through downtown Seattle, stopping at a coffee shop, picking up his dry cleaning. Ethan carried her coffee and made her laugh with a story about his assistant's obsession with color-coded filing systems. People stared, whispered, took photos, but Ethan didn't seem to care. He kept his attention on her, like they were the only 2 people in the world. It felt nice, almost real. That night, they ate dinner together again, not in the formal dining room, in the kitchen with takeout Chinese food and cheap wine. This is the best meal I've had in months, Ethan said, wielding chopsticks with surprising skill. It's takeout. Exactly. No fancy chef, no presentation, just good food. He looked at her. Thank you for suggesting it. You're welcome. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. Books they'd read, movies they loved, stupid things that made them laugh. Aaliyah realized she was having fun. Real, genuine fun. When they finally said goodnight, Ethan paused at her door. Today was good, he said. Yeah, it was. For a moment, they just stood there, close enough to touch. His eyes dropped to her lips, then back up. Then he stepped back. Good night, Aaliyah. Good night. She closed her door and leaned against it, her heart racing. This was getting complicated. Over the next few days, their routine shifted. They ate breakfast together, talked while he worked from home. She cooked dinner, and he helped. Sometimes they watched movies in his home theater, arguing about plot holes and character motivations. The walls between them were crumbling, slowly, carefully, but definitely crumbling. Then came the storm. They were driving back from a dinner with one of Ethan's business partners. Aaliyah had played her role perfectly, smiling, charming, making small talk. She was getting good at this. The first drops of rain hit the windshield as they left the restaurant. Within minutes it became a deluge. Maybe we should pull over, Aaliyah said, peering through the wall of water. We're almost home. Thunder cracked overhead. Lightning split the sky, and then the car made a horrible grinding sound and rolled to a stop. "What happened?" Aaliyah asked. Ethan tried the engine. "Nothing. I don't know. It just died." They were on a quiet road, no other cars in sight. Rain hammered the roof like 1,000 tiny fists. Ethan pulled out his phone. "No signal." "Great. We'll have to wait it out. Someone will come along eventually." They sat in the dark car, lit only by occasional lightning flashes. The storm raged around them, isolating them in their small bubble of space. "I hate storms," Aaliyah admitted. "Why? When I was little, our power went out during a bad one. Mama and I huddled in the dark all night. I couldn't stop crying." She laughed at herself. "Stupid, I know." "It's not stupid. We all have our fears. What are you afraid of?" Lightning flashed, illuminating his face. "Being alone." The vulnerability in his voice made her chest ache. "You have friends. Henry, your business partners. That's not the same." He looked at her. "I'm afraid of being truly alone, of no one really knowing me, of dying and having people at my funeral who only knew my money, not my heart. That's dark. It's honest." Thunder rumbled. She shivered despite the car's warmth. "I'm afraid of being temporary," she said quietly, "of not mattering, of being forgotten. You matter." "To who?" "My mother." "That's different." "To me." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. "Ethan, I know this is all pretend. I know we have a contract and an end date, but—" He reached across the space between them, took her hand. "These past few days, the dinners, the conversations, that's not pretend for me, not anymore." Her heart hammered. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I look forward to seeing you in the morning. I'm saying I think about you when we're apart. I'm saying—" He squeezed her hand. "I'm not sure how to do this anymore. The pretending." Lightning flashed again. In that brief moment of light she saw his face, open, vulnerable, scared. She leaned closer. He did too. The space between them disappeared. His lips were an inch from hers. She could feel his breath, feel the electricity that had nothing to do with the storm. "Aaliyah," he whispered. "Yeah? Can I—" Thunder crashed directly overhead, making them both jump. The spell broke. Ethan pulled back, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry. That was inappropriate." "No, it wasn't. We have an agreement. I shouldn't have—" "Ethan, I wanted—" Headlights appeared through the rain. A tow truck. The moment was gone. They didn't talk on the ride home, didn't mention what almost happened, but Aaliyah felt it humming between them, the possibility of something real. 2 days later, Grace collapsed. Aaliyah was at the mansion when the hospital called. Her mother had passed out during treatment. They were running tests. She dropped everything and ran. Didn't tell Ethan, didn't tell anyone. Just grabbed her purse and called an Uber. At the hospital, doctors surrounded Mama's bed. They spoke in medical terms Aaliyah didn't understand. Tests, scans, possibilities. "We need to adjust her treatment," Dr. Morrison said. "It's going to be expensive." "How much?" "Another 30,000. The number hit her like a fist. "I don't have that. We can set up a payment plan. Just do it. Whatever she needs. I'll figure it out." She sat by her mother's bed and held her hand. Grace looked so small, so fragile. Her phone buzzed. "Ethan." She ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally she answered. "What? Where are you? I've been worried." "The hospital." Mama collapsed. "I'm coming." "Don't." "Aaliyah." "I said don't. I can handle this myself." She hung up. An hour later, Dr. Morrison returned. "Miss Parker, the new treatment has been approved. Your account shows payment received." "What? I didn't—" "Someone covered it. Listed as an anonymous donor." Aaliyah's hands clenched into fists. "Ethan." She stormed home, because that's what it had become, wasn't it? Home. She found him in his office, working like nothing had happened. She slammed the hospital invoice on his desk. "What is this?" He looked up calmly. "A receipt. You paid it. After I told you not to come. After I said I could handle it. Your mother needed help. That's not your choice to make. Aaliyah, do you think your money fixes everything, that you can just throw cash at problems and make them disappear?" Her voice broke. "This is my mother. My responsibility, not yours." He stood, moving around the desk. "I know you're scared, but letting pride get in the way of her health. This isn't about pride. This is about—" She struggled for words. "This is about me being more than just someone you bought." His face went pale. "I don't think of you that way. Don't you? Isn't that exactly what this is? You pay me. You take care of problems. You fix things like I'm a project, a charity case. That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm living in your house. wearing clothes you bought, playing a role in your life, and now you're paying my mother's bills too. What am I supposed to be? Grateful? Indebted? What do I owe you for all this? Nothing. You owe me nothing. Then why did you do it? Because I care about you. The words burst out of him. Because seeing you in pain hurts me. Because I can help and I wanted to. Is that so wrong? They stared at each other, both breathing hard, both raw and exposed. I don't want your charity, she said quietly. I want… What? What do you want? I don't know anymore. She turned and left, went to her room, locked the door. They didn't speak for a week. Aaliyah threw herself into work at the nursing home, picked up extra shifts, avoided the mansion as much as possible. When she had to be there, she stayed in her room. Ethan respected her space, left her alone, but she felt his absence like a missing limb. Henry came by one afternoon, found Ethan staring out his office window. You look terrible, Henry said bluntly. Thank you. What happened? I tried to help. She got angry. Did you ask if she wanted help? Ethan was quiet. Idiot, Henry said, not unkindly. You can't just throw money at everything. I was trying to do the right thing. The right thing is respecting what she wants, even when it's hard to watch. Meanwhile, Mara cornered Aaliyah in the break room. Okay, spill. Why do you look like death? I'm fine. You're not. Is it that rich guy? Aaliyah sagged into a chair, told Mara everything. Girl, Mara said when she finished, he paid your mama's bills. That's not nothing. But he didn't ask. He just did it. Because he cares about you. Or because he thinks he owns me. Does he act like he owns you? Aaliyah thought about their dinners, their conversations, the almost kiss in the storm. No. Then maybe you're scared of something else. Like what? Like actually caring about him back. The words hit too close to home. That night, Aaliyah worked a double shift, pushed herself to exhaustion, anything to stop thinking. At 3 in the morning, Mrs. Chen found her crying in the supply closet. Oh, honey, the old woman said, wrapping frail arms around her. What's wrong? Everything. Nothing. I don't know. Is it the young man? The one I told you about? Aaliyah nodded. Do you care for him? I don't know. Maybe. But it's complicated. Love usually is. Mrs. Chen patted her hand. But here's what I've learned in my 83 years. Pride keeps you warm at night, but it's a cold companion. If someone offers you love, real love, don't throw it away because of fear. It's not love, we barely know each other. Don't you? Aaliyah went home as the sun rose. She was so tired she could barely stand. The world felt fuzzy and distant. At the mansion, Helen took one look at her and frowned. Miss Parker, you need to rest. I'm fine. She wasn't fine. The room spun. Her legs felt like water. Miss Parker. The floor rushed up to meet her. She woke up in her bed. Afternoon light streamed through the windows. Her head pounded. Easy. A hand pressed her shoulder gently back down. Ethan sat in a chair beside her bed. He looked terrible. Hair messy, shirt wrinkled, shadows under his eyes. What happened? Her voice came out raspy. You fainted. Helen called me. I carried you up here. He offered her water. The doctor said you're exhausted. You haven't been sleeping or eating properly. She drank gratefully. I'm okay. You're not okay. You've been working yourself to death. His voice was rough with emotion. Please, just stop. Rest. I don't need you to take care of me. I know, but I want to anyway. He took her hand carefully, like she might break. Aaliyah, I'm sorry. For paying the bill without asking. For overstepping. For making you feel like you owe me something. Ethan, please, let me finish. He squeezed her hand. You were right. I can't fix everything with money, and I shouldn't have tried. But I need you to understand something. He looked at her with eyes full of something that made her breath catch. I didn't pay that bill because I think I own you. I didn't do it because I think you're a charity case. I did it because, he swallowed hard, because you matter more to me than any contract, any deal, any arrangement. What are you saying? I'm saying this stopped being fake for me weeks ago. Maybe it never was. I'm saying when you're not here, this house feels empty. I'm saying I wake up looking forward to breakfast with you. I'm saying… His voice dropped to a whisper. I'm saying I think I'm falling in love with you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You don't have to say anything, he continued quickly. I know this is complicated. I know we have a contract. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear this from. But I needed you to know. You're not something I bought. You're… He touched her face gently. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. She couldn't speak, could barely breathe. He stood up. I'll let you rest. If you need anything, stay. He froze. What? Please, just stay here, with me. He sat back down. She didn't let go of his hand. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? Of this being real, of caring about you and then losing you when the year ends, of being temporary again. You're not temporary to me. Not anymore. Not ever. She closed her eyes, tears leaking out. I think I'm falling for you too, and it terrifies me. He lifted her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles softly. Then we'll be terrified together. She fell asleep, holding his hand. When she woke hours later, he was still there, asleep in the chair, his hand still in hers. She watched him sleep. This complicated, broken, beautiful man who'd somehow become her everything. What had started as survival had turned into something neither of them expected. And for the first time since signing that contract, Aaliyah let herself hope it might actually be real. Days melted into something beautiful. Aaliyah recovered slowly. Ethan brought her breakfast in bed, made sure she rested, sat with her while she watched terrible reality TV shows and laughed at his confused reactions. Why are they fighting over a rose? He asked, genuinely baffled. Because it means love. It's a flower. You're missing the point. He smiled at her. That smile that made her heart do flips. Explain it to me. So she did. And he listened like it was the most important thing in the world. When she was strong enough, they fell into a new routine. Breakfast together every morning. He worked in his office while she read or visited her mother. Dinner became their sacred time. Sometimes fancy, sometimes takeout, always together. One evening, she found him in the music room. She'd never been in there before. A grand piano sat in the center, gleaming black and pristine. I didn't know you played, she said from the doorway. He looked up, surprised. I don't, not anymore. Why not? He touched the keys softly. My mother taught me. After she died, I couldn't bring myself to play. Aaliyah walked closer. How long ago? 10 years. She sat beside him on the bench, close enough that their shoulders touched. Will you play something for me? I'm not very good anymore. I don't care. He looked at her for a long moment. Then his fingers found the keys. The music was hesitant at first, rusty, but then it flowed like water. A slow, beautiful melody that filled the room with longing. Aaliyah closed her eyes and let it wash over her. When he finished, she opened them to find him watching her. That was beautiful, she whispered. My mother's favorite piece. She had good taste. She would have liked you. His voice was soft. She always said I needed someone who would make me laugh. Someone who would remind me there's more to life than work. I make you laugh? All the time. She hummed a few notes of the melody he'd just played, then added words, singing softly, making up lyrics about moonlight and home and finding your way back. His eyes widened. You can sing. A little. Mama used to say I inherited Daddy's voice. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. The air between them shifted, charged with something electric and inevitable. Ethan, she breathed. He cupped her face gently. Can I kiss you? For real this time. Not for show. Not because of a contract. Just because I want to. Yes. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But she didn't want to. Their lips met soft and sweet, tentative, like they were both afraid of breaking something precious. Then the kiss deepened. His hand slid into her hair. She gripped his shirt, pulling him closer. Years of loneliness and fear melted away in that moment. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that for weeks, he admitted. Me too. What does this mean? I don't know, but I want to find out. They sat there in the music room holding each other, while the moonlight streamed through the windows. No contracts, no arrangements. Just two people falling in love. The next few weeks felt like a dream. Grace's health improved steadily. The new treatment was working. Color returned to her cheeks, strength to her limbs, hope to her eyes. I want to meet him properly, she told Aaliyah one afternoon. This man who's captured my daughter's heart. Mama, it's not like that, baby. I see it in your face every time you say his name. Bring him to see me. So Aaliyah did. Ethan was nervous. Actually nervous. She'd never seen him fidget before, but he adjusted his tie 3 times in the elevator. She's going to love you, Aaliyah assured him. What if she doesn't? Then I'll love you enough for both of us. The words slipped out before she could stop them. They stared at each other. You love me? His voice was barely a whisper. Yeah, I think I do. His smile could have lit up the whole hospital. Good, because I definitely love you. He kissed her right there in the elevator. Sweet, and quick and perfect. Grace was sitting up in bed when they arrived. Her eyes were sharp and assessing as Ethan walked in. "Mrs. Parker," he said, extending his hand. "It's an honor to meet you. Sit down, young man." Grace gestured to the chair. "Let me look at you." He sat. To his credit, he didn't squirm under her scrutiny. "You love my daughter?" Grace asked bluntly. "Yes, Mum. How do I know you're not just playing with her?" "Mama!" Aaliyah protested. Grace held up a hand. "Hush. I'm talking to him." Ethan met Grace's eyes steadily. "I can't prove it with words, but I promise you, Mrs. Parker, your daughter is the most important person in my world. I would do anything to make her happy, to keep her safe, to deserve her. Do you think you deserve her?" "No, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to." Grace studied him for another long moment. Then she smiled. "Good answer. You'll do." The tension broke. They spent the next hour talking. Grace told embarrassing stories about Aaliyah's childhood. Ethan laughed more than Aaliyah had ever heard. It felt like family. When they left, Grace pulled Aaliyah close. "He's a good man, baby. Don't let pride or fear steal this from you." "I won't, Mama. I promise." That weekend, Ethan suggested hosting a dinner party. Nothing big, just Henry, Mara, and them. "I want my friend to know you properly," he said, "not as part of an arrangement, as the woman I love." So they planned it together. Aaliyah cooked while Ethan set the table. They worked in comfortable synchronization, moving around each other like they'd done this forever. Henry arrived first. He'd been skeptical of Aaliyah at first, but his expression softened when he saw them together. "You're good for him," he told her, while Ethan was getting wine. "I haven't seen him this happy in years." "He's good for me too." Mara showed up with flowers and a bottle of cheap wine. "Girl, this place is insane." She hugged Aaliyah tight. "And you look so happy." "I am happy." Dinner was perfect. They laughed and told stories, argued playfully about movies and music. Henry and Mara hit it off immediately, debating the merits of various pizza toppings with surprising intensity. Ethan kept his hand on Aaliyah's knee under the table, small touches that said, "You're mine and I'm yours." After dessert, they moved to the living room. Mara cornered Aaliyah in the kitchen. "So," Mara said with a knowing look, "you two are really together now? Like, for real?" "Yeah, for real. What about the contract? We don't talk about it anymore. It doesn't feel relevant." "Good, because girl, the way he looks at you, that man is gone, completely gone." Aaliyah glanced into the living room. Ethan was laughing at something Henry said, relaxed and genuine. Then his eyes found hers across the space and his whole face softened. Yeah, she was gone too. When everyone left, Ethan pulled her close on the couch. "Thank you," he said, "for tonight, for everything. It was fun. It was perfect." He kissed her temple. "You're perfect. I'm really not. To me, you are." They stayed like that, wrapped in each other, until she started falling asleep against his chest. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get you to bed." He walked her to her room, kissed her goodnight at the door, soft and lingering. "Ethan," she said, as he turned to leave. "Yeah? Stay with me tonight. Just to sleep. I don't want to be alone." His eyes darkened with emotion. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." They lay together in her bed, fully clothed, his arms around her, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I could get used to this," he murmured into her hair. "Me too." She fell asleep feeling safe and loved and home. But happiness is fragile, and some people hate seeing others find it. Chloe had been watching, waiting, seething. She saw the photos online. Ethan and Aaliyah laughing at coffee shops, walking hand in hand, looking at each other like nothing else mattered. It made her sick. She'd had Ethan once, had his ring, his promises, his money. Then he'd thrown her away like garbage, said she was using him. Well, what did he think Aaliyah was doing? Chloe made calls, asked questions, found out about the contract through a source in Ethan's company, found out about the payments. Perfect. She showed up at Ethan's office on a Thursday afternoon. His assistant tried to stop her, but Chloe pushed past. Ethan looked up from his computer, his face hardening. "Chloe, what do you want?" "To help you, believe it or not." "I doubt that." She sat down, uninvited. "I know about Aaliyah." His jaw tightened. "There's nothing to know." "Really? Because I heard some interesting things about contracts, about payments, about a woman who's being paid to pretend to love you." "Get out." "Ethan, I'm trying to help. She's using you." "No, she's not." "Then why was she seen at your accountant's office 2 days ago discussing bonus payments?" He froze. "What?" "She met with your accountant, privately. They talked for over an hour." Chloe leaned forward. I have proof, photos, timestamps. She's renegotiating your arrangement, probably asking for more money now that you're emotionally attached. You're lying. Am I? Call your accountant. Ask him if she was there. Ethan's hand moved to his phone. He dialed, waited. David, did Aaliyah Parker visit you this week? Chloe watched his face drain of color as he listened. I see. Thank you. He hung up slowly. She was there, Chloe said softly, asking about payment schedules, future earnings. She's playing you, Ethan, just like I did, except she's better at it because you actually believe her. Get out of my office. I know it hurts, but you need to. Now. Chloe left, smiling. The seed was planted. Ethan came home that evening late. Aaliyah had cooked dinner, but he barely touched it. He was quiet, distant, cold in a way he hadn't been in weeks. Is everything okay? She asked. Fine. You seem upset. Just work stress. But she could feel him pulling away, building walls again. The next morning was worse. He avoided her at breakfast, left for the office without saying goodbye. That afternoon, he came home early, found her in the garden reading. We need to talk, he said. His voice was ice. Her stomach dropped. Okay. Were you at my accountant's office this week? The question hit her like a slap. What? No. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. I haven't been to any accountant. My accountant says you were there, Tuesday afternoon, discussing payments. That's impossible. I was at the nursing home Tuesday, ask Mara. But she could see he didn't believe her. The doubt in his eyes cut deep. What is this about? She asked. Who told you I was there? Does it matter? Yes. Someone's lying and you're believing them over me. His face was hard, closed off. The man she'd fallen in love with was gone, replaced by the cold stranger from that first meeting. I trusted you, he said quietly. I thought you were different. I am different. I haven't done anything wrong. Then why would my accountant say you were there? I don't know. Maybe he's mistaken. Maybe someone's trying to cause trouble. Maybe... She stopped. Chloe, it was Chloe, wasn't it? His silence confirmed it. And you believe her after everything she did to you? After everything we've been through? She has proof, photos, evidence. Of what? Someone who looks like me? A lie she fabricated? Tears burned her eyes. I can't believe you're doing this. After you said you loved me. After I opened my heart to you. I've been lied to before, he said coldly. I won't be a fool again. So that's it. Someone whispers in your ear and you throw away everything we have. What do we have, Aaliyah, really? An arrangement that got out of hand, feelings built on a transaction. The words were meant to hurt. They succeeded. You know it's more than that, she whispered. Or I thought you did. Maybe I was wrong. She stared at him. This man she'd trusted, loved, given herself to. Fine, she said, her voice breaking. If that's what you think, then I'll go. I'll get out of your life. Let you find someone you can actually trust. Aaliyah, no, you made your choice. You chose to believe the worst of me, just like you believed the worst when that first photo leaked. You're so scared of being hurt that you push away anyone who actually cares about you. She brushed past him, heading inside. Where are you going? He called after her. To pack. Isn't that what you want? She threw clothes into her suitcase through blurry tears. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when she'd finally let herself believe in something real. He appeared in her doorway. Don't go. Why not? You've already decided I'm a liar, a user, just another Chloe. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She zipped her suitcase with shaking hands. You know what hurts the most? I actually loved you. Really, truly loved you. Not your money, not your house. You, the man who plays piano and burns toast and makes terrible jokes. But you can't see that. You can't see past your own fear. I'm trying to protect myself. From what? From love? From happiness? She grabbed her bag. Well, congratulations. You've succeeded. You're safe from me now. She walked past him, down the stairs, through the foyer where she'd first arrived, so full of hope and fear. Helen appeared, concern on her face. Miss Parker. Goodbye, Helen. Thank you for everything. Outside, she called an Uber, stood in the driveway with her suitcase, refusing to look back at the mansion that had become home. The car arrived. She got in. As they pulled away, she finally looked back. Ethan stood in the doorway, watching her leave. Even from a distance, she could see the devastation on his face. But he didn't stop her, and that hurt most of all. Her apartment felt too small, too empty, too much like giving up. She collapsed on her bed and cried. Great, heaving sobs that shook her whole body. This pain was worse than anything she'd felt before, worse than medical bills or fear or desperation, because this was heartbreak. Real, crushing, unbearable heartbreak. Her phone rang. Ethan. She ignored it. It rang again, and again. She turned it off. Mara showed up an hour later, letting herself in with the spare key. "Oh, honey." She pulled Aaliyah into her arms. "I heard. I'm so sorry." "He didn't believe me," Aaliyah sobbed. "He chose to believe her lies over me. He's an idiot. He's hurt and scared, and I can't fix that for him." They sat together on the couch. Mara made tea, let Aaliyah cry, didn't offer empty platitudes or false hope. "What are you going to do?" Mara finally asked. "Move on. Go back to work. Take care of Mama. Live my life. Do you still love him?" "Unfortunately, yes." "Then maybe—" "No. He made his choice. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me, who believes the worst every time things get hard." But even as she said it, her heart screamed in protest. Ethan stood in the empty mansion, surrounded by silence. She was gone. He'd driven her away. He looked at his phone. 15 missed calls to her. 20 texts, all unanswered. He'd done this. His fear, his doubt, his inability to trust. Henry found him there at midnight, sitting in the dark. "You're an idiot," Henry said without preamble. "I know. She didn't do anything wrong." "How do you know?" "Because I called the accountant myself. The woman he met with was blonde. Aaliyah is not blonde. He never got her name. Just assumed it was her when Chloe asked." The words punched through Ethan's chest. "What?" "It was a setup. Chloe sent someone who looks vaguely like Aaliyah. Got photos from a distance, fed you lies, and you ate it up because you're too scared to believe in something good." Ethan's hands started shaking. "Oh God, what have I done?" "You threw away the best thing in your life. That's what you did." He grabbed his keys. "I have to go to her, explain, apologize. She won't want to see you, not tonight, give her space." "I can't, I need to fix this." "Ethan," Henry grabbed his arm, "if you show up now, desperate and emotional, you'll only make it worse. Let her breathe. Then figure out how to earn her back. What if she won't forgive me? Then you'll have learned a very expensive lesson about trust." Ethan sank back into his chair. He'd destroyed everything. The one person who'd seen him, really seen him, and he'd thrown her away, because he was too broken to believe love could be real. The next morning, Aaliyah went to see her mother. She'd cried all night, had no tears left, just emptiness. Grace took one look at her face and knew. "What did he do?" Her voice was sharp. "He believed someone else over me, accused me of things I didn't do, couldn't trust me." "Oh, baby." Grace pulled her close. "I'm so sorry. I thought he was different, Mama. I thought we had something real. Maybe you did, maybe he's just too hurt to see it. It doesn't matter now, it's over." But her heart didn't believe that. Her heart still ached for him, still wanted him, still loved him despite everything, and that was the cruelest part of all. Grace stroked her hair like she was a child again. "Love is complicated, baby. It requires trust, and sometimes trust takes time to build, especially for people who've been broken before. I don't have time to wait for him to figure out how to trust me. I can't keep breaking every time he doubts." I know. They sat together in the hospital room, both hurting, both understanding that sometimes love isn't enough. That night, Aaliyah lay in her bed staring at the ceiling. She could still feel Ethan's arms around her, could still hear his laugh, could still taste his kiss. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please let me explain." She stared at it for a long time, then deleted it without responding. If he wanted her back, sorry wasn't going to be enough. He'd have to prove it, and she didn't know if he could. 3 days passed, like months. Aaliyah went through the motions: work, sleep, visit Mama, repeat. But inside she felt hollow. She'd deleted 5 more texts from Ethan, ignored 12 calls. Henry had tried reaching out too. Even Helen sent a kind message. But Aaliyah couldn't bring herself to respond. Trust, once broken, was hard to repair. At the nursing home, she threw herself into her patients. Mrs. Chen noticed immediately. "You're sad," the old woman said during their morning routine. "I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar, dear." "Is it the young man?" Aaliyah's throat tightened. "We're not together anymore." "Why not?" "He didn't trust me. Someone lied about me, and he believed them." Mrs. Chen patted her hand. "Fear makes fools of us all, especially when we've been hurt before. That doesn't make it okay." "No, but it makes it human." The old woman's eyes were kind. "The question is, do you love him enough to forgive him?" "I don't know if I can." "That's a lie too. You know you can. You're just scared of being hurt again." The words stayed with Aaliyah all day. Ethan wasn't doing any better. He wandered through the mansion like a ghost. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Everywhere he looked, he saw her. The kitchen where she'd cooked, the music room where they'd kissed, the couch where they'd held each other. He'd tried calling, texting, nothing worked. Henry told him to give her space, but space felt like death. On the fourth day, he couldn't take it anymore. He had to do something, had to try. He drove to the hospital, not to see Aaliyah, but to see Grace. He found her sitting up in bed, reading. She looked up when he entered, and her expression hardened. "Mr. Whitmore, Mrs. Parker, please, I need to talk to you. I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Please, just 5 minutes." Grace studied him. He must have looked as wrecked as he felt because her face softened slightly. "Sit." He sat in the chair beside her bed, his hands clasped between his knees. "I made a terrible mistake," he began. "I accused your daughter of something she didn't do. I didn't trust her when I should have, and I drove her away." "Yes, you did." The bluntness hurt, but he deserved it. "I'm here to ask you about her, to understand what I threw away." "Why? So you can feel worse?" "No, so I can figure out how to deserve her." Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she sighed. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Tell me about her. The real her. Not the woman I paid to be my companion. The woman you raised." So Grace told him. She told him about Aaliyah at 5, bringing home every stray animal she found. About teenage Aaliyah working 3 jobs to help with bills. About how she'd sold her grandmother's jewelry, the only thing of value she owned, to pay for Grace's first round of treatment. "She never told me," Aaliyah had said when Grace found out. "She said it was just stuff. But you're my mother." Grace told him about the night shifts Aaliyah worked, so exhausted she could barely stand, about how she refused charity from anyone, about her fierce pride and her gentle heart. "She took your offer because she was desperate," Grace said. "But she gave you her heart because she's incapable of being false. My daughter doesn't know how to pretend. When she loves completely, honestly, forever." Ethan's eyes burned with unshed tears. "You didn't buy her, Mr. Whitmore," Grace continued softly. "She gave herself to you freely. That contract, that money, that was just the excuse she needed to let herself fall. But everything else, the laughter, the care, the love, that was real. That was her choice." "I know that now," he whispered. "But I didn't trust it. I was too scared." "Of what?" "Of it being too good to be true, of being fooled again, of—" he swallowed hard, "of being loved for who I am, instead of what I have." That felt more dangerous than any lie. Grace reached out and took his hand. "My daughter is hurt, badly. You made her feel small and doubted when she'd given you everything. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to her, if she'll let me." "Words are easy, Mr. Whitmore. What matters is action. How will you prove you've changed?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. I have to." Grace squeezed his hand. "Then you better get started, because my daughter deserves a man who fights for her, not one who runs at the first sign of trouble." He left the hospital with a plan forming in his mind. Saturday morning, Aaliyah volunteered at the community center, like she did every weekend. She read stories to children, helped with art projects, made them laugh. It was the one place where her broken heart didn't ache quite so much. She was in the middle of reading Where the Wild Things Are to a group of 6-year-olds when she sensed a disturbance at the back of the room. She looked up. Her heart stopped. Ethan stood in the doorway. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red-rimmed, his usual perfect appearance disheveled. Their eyes met across the room. The children forgotten for a moment. What was he doing here? She finished the story on autopilot. The children clapped and ran off to play. Aaliyah stood slowly, her legs shaky. Ethan walked toward her, stopped a few feet away, like he was afraid to get too close. "Hi," he said quietly. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you, to talk to you." "I have nothing to say." "Then just listen, please." Before she could respond, the community center director announced it was time for the volunteer recognition ceremony. Aaliyah was being honored for her 5 years of service. She walked to the front, hyper-aware of Ethan watching. The director said nice things about her dedication. The children cheered, parents clapped. Then Ethan stood up. "Excuse me," he said loudly. "May I say something?" Aaliyah's eyes widened. "Ethan, don't—" But he was already walking forward, standing before the whole room, before the children and families and volunteers who'd become her community. "My name is Ethan Whitmore," he began. His voice shook slightly. Most of you don't know me, but I need to say something. To this woman right here. He turned to face her fully. Aaliyah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His voice cracked. I accused you of something you didn't do. I didn't trust you when you deserved my trust completely. I let my past and my fear destroy the best thing that ever happened to me. Ethan, please, she whispered. Tears were already forming. No, you need to hear this. Everyone needs to hear this. He addressed the room. This woman, she's the kindest, strongest, most genuine person I've ever met. She spent months taking care of me, not because I paid her, but because that's who she is. She gives and gives and gives. And I took and took and took. Then the first time things got hard, I threw her away. A few children whispered to their parents, everyone stared. I was wrong, Ethan continued, looking back at Aaliyah. About everything. You're not a liar. You're not using me. You're just you. Beautiful, honest, incredible you. And I'm a fool who almost lost you forever. Tears streamed down her face. Why are you doing this? Because you deserve a public apology for the private hurt I caused. Because I need everyone to know that if you walk away from me, it's not because you did anything wrong, it's because I wasn't strong enough to deserve you. He stepped closer. But I want to be. I want to be the man you thought I was. The man you made me want to become. The room was completely silent. I love you, he said simply. I love you, and I'm sorry, and I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back, even if it takes forever. He stepped back, waiting, not pressuring, just there. The children started clapping, then the parents. Soon the whole room erupted in applause, but Aaliyah barely heard it. She stared at Ethan through her tears. He'd done this, humbled himself publicly, made himself vulnerable in front of strangers. For her. Can we talk? He asked quietly under the noise. Please. She nodded. They walked to the river that ran through the city, found a quiet bench overlooking the water. The afternoon sun sparkled on the surface, turning everything gold. For a long moment neither spoke. I visited your mother, Ethan finally said. She told me about the jewelry you sold, about the sacrifices you made, about how you never take charity from anyone. Aaliyah looked down at her hands. She shouldn't have told you that. Why not? Because it proves I was wrong about you. Because it shows how selfless you are. Because it doesn't matter. The past is past. It matters to me. He shifted to face her. You gave up everything for her. Then you gave up your pride to sign a contract with a stranger. Then you gave me your heart even though I didn't deserve it. And how did I repay you? By believing lies. By doubting you. You were scared, she said softly. Chloe hurt you. Broke your trust. I understand that. Understanding doesn't make it okay. No. But it makes it human. She finally met his eyes. Mrs. Chen told me something. She said fear makes fools of us all. It does. And I was the biggest fool. They watched the water flow past. Steady, constant, unchanging. I found out the truth, Ethan said. Chloe hired someone. A woman with similar coloring to you. Had her meet with my accountant. Took photos from a distance. Fed me lies that I was desperate to believe. Why desperate? Because, he took a shaky breath, because you loving me felt impossible. Too good. Too pure. And I've been taught my whole life that nothing good comes without a price. So when Chloe offered me evidence that you were just like her, it almost felt like relief, like confirmation that I was right to never trust anyone. That's a sad way to live. I know. But then I lost you. And I realized something. Being alone and safe is worse than being vulnerable and loved. The walls I built to protect myself were actually a prison. A tear slipped down her cheek. You really hurt me, Ethan. I know. You made me feel small, like I didn't matter. Like everything we shared was just me trying to con you. I'm so sorry. His voice broke. I would take it all back if I could. Every doubt, every accusation, every moment I made you feel less than the miracle you are. She wiped her face. What happens now? That's up to you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a second chance. But I need you to know. I'm going to spend the rest of my life being better, whether you're with me or not. She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the pain and regret and love in his eyes. I want to believe you, she whispered. I want to trust this, but I'm scared. Of what? Of this happening again. Of you doubting me every time something goes wrong. Of always having to prove my love is real. Then I'll prove mine instead. He took her hands gently. Let me show you. Not with words, with actions. Every day, for as long as it takes. How? However you need me to. Just give me a chance. One more chance. She looked at their joined hands. His were shaking slightly. "I need time," she said finally. "I need to see that this is real, that you've really changed. I understand. And I need space. We can't just go back to how things were." "I know. But," she squeezed his hands, "I want to try. Because I love you, and I think you love me. And maybe that's worth fighting for." Hope bloomed on his face. "It is. I promise you. It is." "Then prove it." He brought her hands to his lips, kissed them softly. "I will." True to his word, Ethan showed up. The next day he appeared at the nursing home. Not to see Aaliyah, to volunteer. He helped Mrs. Chen with her garden, played chess with Mr. Rodriguez, read to patients who had no family, stayed for hours, never asking for recognition or praise. Aaliyah watched from a distance, her heart aching. The next day, he was at the hospital, sitting with Grace, bringing her books and flowers, making her laugh. When Aaliyah arrived for her visit, she found them deep in conversation about her childhood. "He's very persistent," Grace said after he left. "Yeah. Do you believe he's changed?" "I want to." "Then give him a chance to prove it." Days turned into a week. Every day Ethan found small ways to help. He paid for another patient's treatment anonymously, fixed a broken window at the community center, donated to the nursing home's activity fund. He never asked for credit, never made it about himself. One evening, Aaliyah found him on a ladder outside the community center, painting over graffiti. "What are you doing?" she asked. He looked down, surprised to see her. "The director mentioned this was a problem. I thought I'd help." "You don't have to do this." "I want to." He climbed down. "This place matters to you, so it matters to me." She watched him work, rolling paint over the ugly words, replacing them with fresh color. "Why are you really doing all this?" she asked. "Because words are easy. Actions show the truth." He dipped his roller in paint. "I told you I'd changed. Now I'm proving it. For how long? Forever. Whether you take me back or not." That night, she called Mara. "He's trying," Aaliyah said. "Really trying. Do you think he's sincere?" "Yeah, but I'm still scared." "Of course you are. Love is terrifying." Mara's voice softened. "But being alone when you don't have to be, that's worse." 2 weeks after their conversation by the river, Ethan asked to meet her. Not at the mansion, at a coffee shop, neutral ground. She agreed. He was already there when she arrived. 2 coffees on the table. He stood when he saw her, uncertain and hopeful. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They sat. The awkwardness felt almost funny considering where they'd been. "I have something to show you." He pulled a paper from his jacket. "Do you remember our contract?" "Of course. I want you to watch this." He pulled out a lighter. Then he set the contract on fire. Aaliyah gasped as flames consumed the paper. He held it carefully until nothing remained but ash. Then he scattered the ashes on the ground. "What did you just do?" she breathed. "Destroyed the lie. That paper? It never mattered. You were never something I bought. You were always someone I loved." He looked at her intensely. "I don't want you because of a contract. I want you because I can't imagine my life without you in it." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I love you," he said. "Not as my employee, not as my companion, as my equal, my partner, my everything." "Ethan, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to see. It was never about the money, never about the arrangement. It was always just us." She reached across the table, took his hand. "I love you too." His breath caught. "Does that mean—" "It means I forgive you. It means I'm willing to try again. It means—" She smiled through her tears. "It means I want to see where this goes. For real this time." He came around the table and pulled her into his arms, held her like he'd never let go. "I promise," he whispered into her hair. "I promise I'll never doubt you again. I'll trust you. I'll choose you every single day. And I promise to be patient when you're scared, to remind you that love is real, that we're real." They stood there in the coffee shop, holding each other, while people smiled and moved around them, starting over, starting right. The next few weeks were like falling in love all over again. They dated properly this time, coffee dates, movie nights, long walks, getting to know each other without contracts or expectations. Ethan met her friends, she met his colleagues. They built something real on the foundation of everything they'd been through. Grace's health continued improving. She was strong enough to come home. Aaliyah moved back to her apartment to take care of her, but Ethan visited every day. "This is how it should be," Grace said, watching them cook together in the tiny kitchen. 2 people choosing each other. Every day. 1 month after they reconciled, Ethan showed up at her door looking nervous. "What's wrong?" Aaliyah asked. "Nothing. Can you come with me? I want to show you something." "Now? Please." She grabbed her jacket and followed him to his car. He drove them to the mansion, but it looked different. Lights glowed warmly. Music played. Flowers lined the driveway. "What is this?" she asked. He parked and came around to open her door, offered his hand. "Come see." He led her inside. The cold, sterile mansion had been transformed. Warm colors, soft lighting, photos on the walls, of them, of Grace, of Aaliyah's friends, of moments they'd shared. "I made it a home," he said softly. "Not a museum, not a showpiece. A real home, because that's what you gave me, the feeling of home." Tears filled her eyes. "Ethan." He led her to the garden. It had been decorated with fairy lights and candles. A path of rose petals led to a clearing where Mara, Henry, and Grace waited. Aaliyah's hand flew to her mouth. "Mama, you're here?" Grace sat in a wheelchair, smiling. "Wouldn't miss this for the world, baby." "Miss what?" Ethan took both her hands, looked into her eyes. "Aaliyah Parker," he began. His voice shook with emotion. "You walked into my life when I was lost. You showed me what real love looks like. You taught me to trust, to hope, to believe in something beyond money and walls and fear." He sank to one knee. Her heart stopped. "I don't want a contract with you. I don't want an arrangement or a timeline or an end date." He pulled out a ring. "Simple, beautiful, perfect. I want forever. I want mornings with you, fights and makeups, growing old together, building a real life, no pretending, no transactions, just love." She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, could only stare at him through tears. "Will you marry me?" he asked. "Not because you have to, not because I'm paying you, but because you want to, because you love me as much as I love you." "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, yes, of course yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and stood, lifting her off the ground and spinning her around. Their friends cheered. Grace cried happy tears. When he finally put her down, he kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. "No more contracts," he whispered against her lips. "Just forever," she agreed. They married 3 months later. Not a big society wedding, not a spectacle for magazines and gossip sites. A small ceremony in the mansion's garden with only the people who mattered. Grace, healthy and strong, walked Aaliyah down the aisle. Her daughter wore a simple white dress and wildflowers in her hair. She'd never looked more beautiful. Ethan stood at the altar in a grey suit, tears already streaming down his face. Henry stood beside him as best man, grinning. The ceremony was short, personal. They wrote their own vows. "I promise to choose you," Aaliyah said, holding his hands. "Every day, in every way, when it's easy and when it's hard, when we're happy and when we're scared, I promise to trust you with my heart, to build a life with you, to love you not for what you have, but for who you are." Ethan could barely speak through his tears. "I promise to be worthy of your love, to trust in us, to never let fear drive us apart again. I promise to honor your strength and your kindness, to be your partner, your friend, your home. You saved me, Aaliyah. Now let me spend forever proving you didn't make a mistake." They exchanged rings, kissed as husband and wife. Their small group erupted in applause. At the reception, they danced under the stars, just like they'd imagined all those months ago. "We made it," Aaliyah whispered, her head on his chest. "We did, against all odds. What do we do now?" He pulled back to look at her face. "We live, we love, we build something real together." "That sounds perfect." Grace watched them dance, tears of joy on her cheeks. Her baby had found her forever, had found love in the most unexpected place. Mara leaned over. "They're going to make it, aren't they?" "Oh yes," Grace said confidently. "This is the real thing." 1 year later, Aaliyah stood in the mansion's kitchen, their kitchen now, making breakfast. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Music played softly, arms wrapped around her from behind. Ethan kissed her neck. "Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore." She smiled. Still got butterflies when he called her that. "Good morning. How'd you sleep?" "Perfectly. You?" "Best sleep of my life. Same as every night with you." They swayed together to the music. So different from that first awkward dinner, so different from the fear and doubt and distance. "I was thinking," Ethan said, "we should do something special for our anniversary. It's not for another 2 months. I know, but I want it to be perfect. You deserve perfect." She turned in his arms, looked at her husband, this man who'd started as a stranger and become her everything. "I already have perfect," she said. "I have you." He kissed her softly. "I love you. I love you too." Grace called later that morning. "How are my favorite newlyweds?" "Perfect, Mama. Everything's perfect." "Good. You coming by this weekend?" "Of course. We'll bring dinner." After they hung up, Aaliyah looked around the house, at the photos on the walls, the warmth in every room, the evidence of love everywhere. This had started with desperation, with a contract and fear and survival. But it had become something neither of them expected. It had become real. Ethan found her standing in the living room, staring at their wedding photo. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "About how far we've come, about how scared I was that first day, about how this was supposed to be temporary. And now?" She smiled at him. "Now it's forever." He pulled her close. "Forever sounds good to me." They stood together in the home they'd built, not from money or contracts or convenience, but from choice, from trust, from love. Outside, Seattle moved forward. Life happened, the world turned, but inside 2 hearts beat as one. A woman who'd given everything for love, a man who'd learned to accept it. Together they'd found something neither thought possible. They'd found home, the end.